Are you sometime being pulled by fear? Then I hope this video will be helpful for you to understand fear better, as fear is. And for that we read in the book Ponder on this on page 150 about fear. Fear is the product of ignorance, and in its initial stages, it is not a product of wrong thinking. It is basically instinctual, and it is found dominating in the non-mental animal kingdom as well as in the human kingdom. But in the human, its power is increased potently through the powers of the mind and through memory of past pain and grievance, and through anticipation of those we foresee. The power of fear is enormously aggravated by the thought form we ourselves have built of our own individual fears and phobias. This thought form grows in power as we pay attention to it, for energy follows thought till we become dominated by it. So that means fear is partially or largely based of ignorance, and the more we think about it, the more we are sending energy to our fear so that we can be entangled by our own fear. And it's basically something from the animal kingdom as our instinct. However, with our mental power, that instinct is increases the power of fear, because we have the mind to send the energy towards it. Every human being knows fear, and the range of the fear vibration extends from the instinctual fears of the savage man, based on his ignorance of the laws and forces of nature, and of his terror of the dark and the unknown, to the fears prevalent today of loss of friends and loved ones, of health, of money, of popularity, and to the final fears of the aspirant, the fear of failure, the fear which has its root in doubt, the fear of ultimative negation of the inhibition, the fear of death, which he shares equally with all humanity, the fear of the great illusion of the astral plane, of the phantasmagoria of life itself, and also the fear of loneliness on the path, even to the very fear of fear itself. The list could be largely extended, but suffices to indicate the prevalence of fears of all kinds. They dominate most situations and darken many happy moments. They reduce man to a timid and frightened atom of sediment life, standing afraid before the stupidity of the problems of existence. Aware of his insufficiency as a man to cope with all the situation, and unable to leave his fears and questioning behind, and step into his heritage of freedom of life. Often he is so reached by fear that he becomes afraid of his very reason. The picture cannot be too black-colored, for fear is the dominant astral energy at this time, and sensitive humanity succumbs all too easily to it. So it's like a fear, a cloud, a grey cloud prevailing the astral planet, and which is pulling us with our emotional nature into it, and is very instinctual. But the man must know he can leave his fear by questioning it and stepping in his heritage of freedom of life. So, what would it mean for you to be free of your fears, or face your fears with courage and maybe see the reason behind the fears and the path that fear is leading towards, so you can experience greater freedom after you boldly faced the fears and shed your own soul light to the fears of the dark clouds of the astral plane. Then, my friend, I wish for you to be in your courage and be able to face your fears with your light of the soul, so it can illuminate the way through the fear. Thank you. Take care.